Good morning. I'm making an immediate reply video after finding a video in my home feed. And all right, so there were just four keywords that I wanted to showcase here. Um, Overlap and parallel, those are mathematical terms. And the manner of this video, the tone, it's sort of, I was like, what? So I typed in here just now, I couldn't remember the channel name. I was gonna do an imitation. It's SNL stole my, is it skit, story, or video? It's just video. Anyways, the air conditioner just shut off and it's like, but long story short, he mentions those things, and those are recent terms. I had just used the parallel term a few days ago, and now I find this video. Apparently, it was uploaded 13 days ago. The sketch in question was 10 days ago, and the one that was apparently stolen, the third one down, was 3 months ago. So when I mentioned this parallel thing, I think he introduced this into the talking points of the internet. And what I was gonna just make fun of what he was saying. He's like, there's overlap. Like there's like my video here, and there's SNL that's like 50 times larger, even though it's really not. As far as views go, that's from a paradoxical perspective, because even though his video got 1.7 million views, I don't even know if like the SNL sketch, it doesn't even show. That's from E! News. It says E! News only has 8,000 views for revealing this idea. It's not absurd. How do I, I have this thought and I have this idea of what I'm trying to say, and then here I am like 2.5 minutes into the video and I haven't even touched on any of it. I'm just trying to add a context here. Mostly the videos I'm making, someone left a comment on my video yesterday saying, am I seeking empathy for the passing of my pet mantis? I never had that, never occurred to me. I've heard that specific terminology used before online for years and years, and I'm thinking, like, after some deep introspection, or it's not soul searching, it's some word like that. Not even, it's just a personal journal so I don't forget what to do, because last year the same thing happened. When the mantis gave birth, she lost her life, and I didn't know what to do with the larva. She wanted me to be the godfather, and I knew that was coming yesterday, so I uploaded a video, saying it's sort of bittersweet news. My pet that I've had for 6 months is about to pass away. She did overnight. I don't want to, now that's a different tangent I'd have to go on. That's a geometric term. Let me just throw it out there. I think it was Socrates or Plato that had something over the entrance of his door that said, only those who understand geometric terminology, beware of it, or do not enter, without foreknowledge of this thing. And tangent is, wow, it's a geometric term. So she passed away, and she's in the garden. The larva escaped the captivity in her womb. I don't know where they are. I think they went into this bush. They like sunk into it. She's like, I laid her down to rest. I said, dust to dust and ashes to ashes. Laid her down to rest. Sprayed her with a little bit of water. She tried to drink a little bit, and then she laid like this. It's so peaceful. I got a picture. I'm not going to show it because it's on my phone. I'll show it later, I suppose. And when I went back a few hours later, her womb had busted open and the larvae are just gone. I think they fell into the bush. It's like a soft bush, um, as opposed to like a prickly, sharp bush. I don't know what the larvae are going to do. I don't know. It's just a sad um, metaphor for life. It's kind of downing, depressing. Like, I didn't know what to do because I'd read online last year what to do. There was some speak online websites, communities for having pet mantis. They said the humane way to like end the life of a pet mantis, and it's just like, wow. I don't want to get into the discussion of it. And pet wasp I had since then, I think probably close to 6 months. It was a long time. I had a pet wasp that when it was just constant, like at the end of its life cycle, I wanted to try to as humanely as possible end its life. So I tried to, I put it in a Tic Tac container and then I filled it up with honey immediately. And this is kind of graphic. It looked, I'm trying to think what happened. It started like trying to swim, but then it couldn't swim. It was just like this. And then I tried to like move it with a stick to make it like look like it was like, oh, like, doing like something like this or something. Like, I'm not going to look at the camera as I do that. Flex. Watch your step reflex and you get a hole in your side. Anyways, the brave warrior, and I buried it as hopefully, like in the movie Jurassic Park, what had happened. And this is one of those conversations where every few seconds or so, I slam down my hand like it's a steering wheel or something, and it just, it adds that tone to a conversation. What was I going to say about, the guy? I was going to try to imitate his voice. That's what I was just thinking of doing. I was like, I'm going to make a video imitating this guy, because as serious as he's taking this, he said he had hundreds of comments of people saying they stole your sketch or whatever, and even E! News has a video about it, and he's just kind of nonchalant, like, I'm erring on the side of coincidence, like he's done a lot of thinking about this. Anyways, coincidentally, I've done a lot of thinking about this, and the conclusion that I've arrived at after many years of research and study, and sort of, as one of my teachers or mentors would say, feeling around in the dark, and like it's like having no eyes or something, and like feeling around in the dark for what is reality and what is truth. Anyways, so what my guy Joel Haver says in the video, he mentions a different sketch that had tons of overlap with one that he'd made. But the thing is that this was like 13 years ago that this one was uploaded. And I find that in recent times now, I can find that stuff. It's such a weird, twisted path to arrive at a place of certainty as opposed to confusion. I was reading about yesterday in one of my favorite books. And what else? Wow. It's like, I'm taking this like so much more seriously than the video I was trying to just make fun of just now. And now I've just found myself in a almost identical, I don't know what. That video is 8 minutes 26. This one's 9 minutes and 32 seconds. So, wow. He probably had said so much more coherent things anyways. How do I summarize this briefly for the celebration of the 10th minute arrival? It's like there was ancient history way over here, and there was legends. We don't really know for sure who was legendary, who wasn't. We have an idea of these like ancient fables, similar things. That was prehistoric stuff. Then there was history in the beginning of time, and BC times, AD time. It's the year 2022, and 2,000 years later, since the beginning of recorded history, there's a handful of like famous ancient Greek philosophers that survived. Their ideas and writings had survived. So at the point that we developed, I have to sneeze. Oh, chew. At the point we had developed, written documents and records, and fast forward to today, we got recorded audio, video. It's made our court system obsolete. It's like people are put on trial today, even though we have video evidence. Like, there's no such thing as a legend in modern times, like there was 100 years ago and before that. Before there was recorded media, it's like the political system has broken down more and more since the beginning of time in recorded history and written documents and records and the like. The system was designed when it was just word of mouth. It's like hearing tall tales, true or not, about people on the other side of the world. It's legendary. It's mysterious. It's like there's the sense of an infinite unknown. And now in modern times, it's like in this century, in this millennium now, in the year 2022, there's so much being recorded that the entire world events are recorded really in video. Like, that's a real record. It's like a million times. A picture's worth 1,000 words in a video and audio. The witness stuff of the past and the word of mouth and bearing false witness, that's the whole idea of having a court and a trial. And in modern times, the theater of that has become more and more absurd, to the point that the climax was, in my opinion, 1990, 1991. Maybe just 2 years before that, around the time I was born. The most powerful men in the world have been the U.S. presidents since post-World War II. The idea of a superpower country. And, it's a very similar life experience of an average American, of being just sort of the newest, youngest country, nation on the scene. Now all of a sudden, after going through some growing phases, military covering the world, and so the presidents in recent times are going to be the most powerful guys in history. Before I forget, I have to say, I've never recorded this. It's like a journal. The absurdity of, since President from Texas, Lyndon B. Johnson, every president since then has been like average height of like 6'3". Like the tallest president ever, I think, was Lincoln at like 6'4", 6'5", maybe 6'5" is what I'm saying. And the idea is, even though we had problems in the 1960s, like that LBJ talked about, aka Lyndon B. Johnson, Lyndon Boris, or is it London Boris Johnson? Lyndon Baines Johnson. When he first mentioned the war on poverty, the problems now are so much worse today from the events that took place in the 1960s, when this was first created as a political talking point, issue, stance, I don't know what to call it. And in the 1980s, when I was born, I was at the tail end of a Reagan baby. My quote-unquote godfather, who I can consider my godfather, was Ronald Reagan. I mean, he didn't directly give my parents permission to bring me into this world. You know what I mean? It takes two. It doesn't just take two parents. It takes parents and the government. So that's a hot topic. It was a hot topic then in the 70s. It's gotten worse today because of what happened in the 70s. In the 1980s, when I was born, the war on drugs. People don't talk about it today. The problem's gotten worse. The easiest way to understand how someone's trying to gain power, every time I say power, I got to put it in quotes. There's a complaint. There's got to be a complaint behind it. In my personal opinion, I try to have a positive tone of voice, body language, and actions. A forceful way. Not in a, I don't know. There's a delicate line. It's difficult to put into words. Authoritative, right? In just one word, authoritative. And that's all. Give peace a chance, and that's all. I'm trying to imitate Ace Ventura. He does that laugh, whatever. Allahu Azhar. Anyways, I don't know how to do that. I've made so many weird faces in this video. So anytime someone's complaining, that's when I turn off. That's when I turn off my brain, because I used to be sort of compelled by that. When I would hear someone saying, this is what's wrong with the world, ... today. No, it's like the problems of yesterday, when they're not solved yesterday, they're worse today. And I don't know what to say besides that. I just tune people out, but I got no complaints, really. How else can I put this simply? What I was trying to say about LBJ. The idea was when what? There's something I was reading about business, financial affairs, financial matters. Financial affairs matter, fam. So, quote me on that. I'll figure out at some other point. It was having to do with business and inherited occupations and planning fatherhood. And there is no English term, as far as I know, like a father, whether or not he has a daughter or a son, is still a father. But what if the father's of a son? There needs a new word for that. It's like fem, F-E-M, is also backwards. It's a different word. I don't want to say, now that I think about it. And yeah, I'm staring off into the distance. Like I'm sort of almost trying to look at my phone so it looks like I'm looking at it. That's what happened on the Saturday Night Live Weekend Update last night with the new guy, Devin. I'd never noticed anyone ever on the Weekend Update that was like so obviously reading words above. And now that I think about it, Mike Myers mentioned that on a talk show or something. I don't know. Man, talk shows are the most pretentious thing in the world that I try to never talk about, because no way is that, it's like, nah, I'm just not. Even though I've watched quite a bit in my recent history, the last few years. I looked at my statistics on YouTube related to a Saturday Night Live sketch about wellness, right? The Try Guys, or not the Try Guys, whatever their name is, the guys who make videos outside of the stage part of the show. They make video sketches and that's all. They're talking about wellness, and whatever I just mentioned was a similar thing. Oh, I've watched like 7,000 hours on YouTube since 2020. And no, I've listened to 7,000 hours with the screen off, is what that means. And I've watched like 7,500 hours. So since 2020 I've watched 500 hours of YouTube, and compared to how much I've listened to, it's like if this is 500, like 8,000 or whatever it was is like much larger in geographic or geometric terms. So what I'm trying to say is, I remember now, I have the computer. I'm going to pull up a voicemail I sent to a close friend, talking even more assured of my ideas than I am right now. Like, I'm extremely conceited. I read an article about what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. Not only does it take like high school and college stardom to get into the NFL, it takes all this extra. It's like they're single-handedly responsible for, in the case of Green Bay, Wisconsin Packers, a town community owns the football team. Yet Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre are the ones responsible in the public. The public opinion is that it's their fault whether or not whatever they're going to do. And now that I think about it, what I've been including in all, I got to switch gears a minute. What I've been including in all my music videos, I have to do some TikTok dancing videos now that I got these songs working. And I got some serious ammunition in these songs when it comes to these songs. I wanted to do 50 Cent, You Ain't Like Me, You Not Like Me, and That Ain't Gangsta, and You Not Gangsta. Those three songs in the chorus, bop, bop, bop after bop, like bop, 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 like snippet after snippet. I know those songs so well that I can reenact the positions of all the terms in the song without changing any of it. Maybe changing a small amount of the order chronologically. Let me go ahead, and it's going to take me forever to pull this up. That's what I was supposed to pull it up beforehand. I'll go ahead and play this other guy's video and then maybe record another video after that. There's still quite a few things. So the world problems in like the late 1950s to late 1960s like doubled. The world got like twice as worse, and it hasn't gotten better. It's still gotten worse and worse since then because the problems weren't solved then. And the fantasy, not the reality. We live in it here, like in a society, in a reality, yet there's this like projection on TV, a fantasy, and it's fantastic. And I'm not all about it. Like, I'm pretty realistic. And the idea is, after the passage in the 1960s of the Higher Education Act that said, in the 1950s up to that point, a college degree had gotten more and more important. And in 1960, they made it official into the national federal, law that anyone who wants to work in government or really anywhere to have a middle-class lifestyle has to have a college degree at minimum. Associates, Bachelor of Science, anything in between. PhD, DPhil, as it's called, Doctor of Philosophy of such and such. It became written into law in the 1960s that one citizen has to have a college degree. And it was just kind of ... For what? For a middle-class life, to work in government in any position, to have any kind of a life that is, I don't know what to say, worth living. One has to have a college degree. And let me tell you, that problem has not gotten any better. It's not talked about anymore because the people who wrote these laws in the 1960s aren't here. Nobody cares anymore, even though the problem's gotten worse. The realities of the world get confused, clouded, and everything else. So, around that era of the global battle for a superpower, that was not like a few years in the making. It was like hundreds and even thousands of years in the making. There was world battles going off the charts. For some reason, people started fighting wars in the last 3,000 years of human history. And I don't think it's going to stop. Like, up until like 1 or 2 weeks ago, I was like, I'm pretty sure this give peace a chance thing has finally come to be. But after looking at the timeline of the number of battles and number of soldiers killed in action and all this other things, and they just forgot to the on this side of history that nobody wants to talk about, it very discouraging, like incredibly discouraging. And it's just absurd, the idea of organized natural disaster imitation on the part of humans. Not that I don't take part in sport, and I don't know what to say. I have a real paradoxical view of it. What did I say about the paradox earlier? I mentioned a paradox. Seems similar, yet okay. So Saturday Night Live is that 70s show. It's just a TV show from the 70s, kind of like Meet the Press on MSNBC, Microsoft National Broadcasting Network, right? Is that 60s show. Martin Luther King was interviewed and questioned about, look at all this riots and stuff that's happening, and everybody says it's your fault. Kind of like when, Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre or Tom Brady even have to take the loss and the responsibility of the loss with the wins. I don't know what to say other than when the brainlessness of a mass group of people, the average of everyone's mind in the world, it's like clump of it, it's like a mass of idiocy, is leveraged, kind of like with a fulcrum and a lever, it's a science term, and like launched like on a trebuchet and lands on one person over here. Kind of funny when it's like less than lethal. When it becomes like what happens to dictators and stuff. Speaking of which, what I meant to say is Chris Farley's sketch from the food court, "Lay off me, I'm starving," and the quote, there might be another one in that sketch, and then "I am the great El Nino." The guy who recreates this on YouTube, and he's just, I don't know who he is. It's just, he imitates it better than El Nino Chris did in that 90s sketch on the show. That guy, like, just his like mannerisms and stuff, he's like, you know what I mean? Like a dictator, like a Cuban dictator, like a black and white video of like a dictator of any regime, like getting a crowd pumped up and everything. Pump it up. Pick it up. I don't know. What am I saying now? It's just things I was thinking about yesterday. And while I was playing the football game on PlayStation, and I had the song going, Pump Up the Jam. So, because the U.S. president has sort of been already limited to 4 years per term, so a position like the founder of Saturday Night Live has had since the 70s, how many terms, 40 years, right? Over 40 years now. 40, I don't want to say, let's just say 40 years is 10 times more than 4 years. And so in that sense, he has more power than who's the president at that time, 40 years ago? Jimmy Carter, and what's his name? Before Jimmy Carter, and Ronald Reagan, that was when I was born, etc. He's more powerful, let's just say. They did a sketch yesterday, had the full 100% overlap, close to that, 100% overlap of the hearing, They got the flag here that says official Congress flag. The other flag, had the gold trimmings on it, at least on the fake Congress flag. The American flag was intentionally hidden, the edges of it. I don't think they even wanted to put the gold trimmings on it. That's like a government American flag. It's much more symbolic and much more of a powerful symbol. Powerful. And okay, so that was then in the 70s. And the climax of this idea of the most powerful men in the world are U.S. presidents. And when America became a superpower, it was like average guys, kind of like Bruce Willis in stature and, I don't know, just general mannerisms, just a regular guy, everyday person like you or I, my friend. And compared to Sylvester Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, those are like more comparable to Reagan, and on and on. They're just so large in stature. Like Lincoln Abraham, former U.S. president, was 6'5", and every president since Lyndon Baines Johnson was elected is around that height, and when they passed the Higher Education Act, Lyndon Johnson himself said this. It's a must that a person has to not just attend college, graduate with a degree, to have any semblance of a life that we had before we became a superpower, or in the glory days of becoming a superpower in Second World War. He just said, or else. There was no or else. Or else. The only presidents that we've had since then are these like superhuman guys. They're not average like Truman or Eisenhower, you name it. The guys running against him, going all the way back into history. Just regular guys. And it's just so much easier to villainize a person who's not, more than average height. Any guy who's not more than average height is going to get much praise. Everybody wants just a piece of that success, like an NFL quarterback when the team's winning. Yeah, when the team's like massively always on the downswing, they're going to turn into sort of like a global world star of a punchline instead of the opposite of a punchline. Something to be praised and worshipped, and El Nino Chris. All other tropical storms must bow before El Nino Chris. Never outshine your master, Hurricane Ian, master of destruction. I don't know. I'm just making fun of. I'm so off on a tangent here. I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to talk about too many things at once. What's the solution then? So, guys on a losing team, the losers, are average height guys and below. And they're going to be villainized just because no one wants what they are already getting, which is not a lot of admiration. And it's sort of like the idea of, why is everybody on social media? Why is everybody on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter? Simply because everybody's on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It's just a momentum effect. And it's really not spectacular. It's not extraordinary. It's just, it's a paradox. It's extraordinary. It's there's anomalies, but it's also just rather ordinary. Anyways, in 1991, I don't know O'Shea Jackson, aka Ice Cube's height, but also Andre Young, aka Dr. Dre, the two most well-known artists from the music group with Attitude, and MC Ren, just as great, and the other members that are lesser known. So in 1991, Ice Cube was more powerful than the most powerful man in the world at the time, George H.W. Bush, former president. And what I mean when I say that, I mean the average soldier in the early 90s, 90, 91, in the first years of his presidency or whatever. It's just a one term, not important. At least for reference, check out his the opening inauguration speech. I'm pretty sure quoting lyrics straight out of Compton, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember exactly when or what. It's a 1 hour speech. It's a 1 hour album. Comparable. Anyways, so from ancient history, prehistoric times, up to now, modern times, the politics of theater, the theater of politics, has gotten more and more absurd to the point that Ice Cube was more powerful than the most powerful man in the world at the time. Because, let me do an imitation of George H.W. Bush. Like Dana Carvey would like this, right? Like as he's commanding like the troops, right? Commander in chief. Hey, I didn't practice this enough. I didn't practice it at all. Okay, I didn't practice it. Hey, fellas, I'm gonna need you to go over there. You see that? Those 9mm over there? I'm gonna need you to head over to Sodom Arabia, West Saudi Arabia, and beep beep beep, beep beep beep. All right, so that's him giving a command. It's absurd. The idea of the average soldier, guy average age of 20 or 25 years old in the army now, then in 1990. Pauly Shore movie, in the army now. There's also Stripes, Bill Murray movie in 1981 that I just found out about like 3 days ago. I saw one scene. I want to see more. Anyways, so what? Yeah. Ice Cube would command more respect from the soldiers. Imagine Ice Cube on the megaphone, or not even, he wouldn't even need a megaphone. If he went into a group of soldiers in uniform, it doesn't matter where, in the barracks, and he started saying, when I leave Cleveland, believe I'm stomping. And when I come back, boy, we're going straight to Sodom Arabia from Compton. Compton. Straight out of Compton. Now I'm trying to imitate, I have to look in the mirror for the Ricky, Wild Wild West. I'm nuts. I'm clearly bananas. Like I'm like putting myself in a straight hair, jacket here. And I almost said straight hair, but straight jacket here instead of hair. That's funny. It's just word games. Politics has been word games since before documents, books, literature. Now with music has always been the same thing lyrically, and written music, it has different notation system, little symbols and everything. They're called musical numbers. It's all word games, right? So that's why it is ordinary that Ice Cube would be more powerful than the president at the time. And he got more powerful since then. With the movies, Dr. Dre went off, created Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, Snoop, you ain't nothing but a Snoop Dogg. Snooping all the time? You ain't nothing but a Snoop Dogg. Hi, my name is Warden threw a party. And I got time for that. I don't know. Campaign slogan is not for me. The idea is we have to be the change as video game players. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. So we got our video games, the fantasy, and because it's an interactive thing and we're not just watching and spectating, we have to be the change we want to see. So if we want a less violent world, the campaign slogan is LEG 2020. To aim for the non-extremities, or whatever it's called. Aim for the extremities, like a leg. shoot to disable rather than whatever the Rage Against the Machine song, the worst one they got, the political song. I saw a Korean military band. Was it Korea? No, I think it was China. I don't remember. An Asian country did a full rendition of this Rage Against the Machine song. It's either that one or some other one. I don't remember what country it was. If I had to put like chips on the map, like if it was a roulette board, I would say North Korea or China. I don't know. I just don't know. I really don't. It looked official. I got a computer here. Can't tell me nothing that Google can't tell me. David, myself. YouTube, Rage Against the Machine, military band. Oh, I could just type the name of the country. Oh, it's North Korea band. Here. Can't be seen. Oh, and I can even play it as well. North Korean military band. Democracy in China. I said it. Are the same that... What? I mean, is this visible though? They're singing English. Do they understand English? Probably. That's what makes America so unique. And that's what makes it so powerful, is that the world speaks our language. Politics is a word game. It's like songs, musical numbers, and such. Something that I was saying led me to that, and I don't remember what. I get lost leading myself. Video games? Yeah, as video games, we got to be the aim for the leg 20XX whenever. 20XX, whatever year it is. Hopefully, eventually, if video game players can make it a trend, unconscious trend, for whatever reason or another, if players aimed for that leg instead of lethal shots, more than lethal, hopefully in the real world that would also play out. Because we're not in wartime, so there's no such thing as like a warning shot. Warning shots are for wartime, and I don't know. I'm trying to for all these years, go back into Battlefield video game and reenact the priest character from Age of Empires with Emperor's state of mind. He goes in with a stick, he's walking across the little battlefield, and he just goes, wololo, wololo, why-yo, why-yo, wololo. And he looks for relics, and he picks up the relic, and he just brings it back. That's all he does. And he converts enemy soldiers and elephants. War elephants. Long story short, it really is as simple as that as far as video games go. And yeah, so what we've been trained, people my age especially, because of Command and Conquer, Age of Empires, strategy games, we grew up on those. They're like second nature to us. The idea of commanding an army of soldiers, the Greek word strategos. It just means a leader of a military, Instead of like a mano-a-mano boxing match that most people are interested in, we're talking about like global domination and very intricate details of strategy and stratagems. That's another word, GEM. Greek derivative word. Derivative, there's the mathematical term. And the rest is history, Mike. So yeah, I got a huge ego, and so here's when that guy was talking about, he made a sketch about escalating, the idea of there's someone behind me, and it's keeps escalating and escalating it. I think the escalation that he's touching on is like, if my relationship with Saturday Night Live is the same as his or the average person is, uh, only ever been communication through a television set, is like they didn't reach out to me or anything. But here's the thing. Let me just say what it is with my huge ego over here. Like, I feel like I'm a just as much of a writer for the show, like someone who writes the jokes and then the actors go out and say them, and it's just like boom, hard hitting. And it's like I feel like I'm a writer who's unpaid, uncredited, but I'm not upset about it. It's like I never even was close to that area of region of the world. There's no even close encounter with the Midwest or Mideast, whatever it's called, New England area, New York, NYC. And okay, so that's absurd. It's absurd to say that I like am writing jokes for this show as a writer. But why is it absurd with the technology that we have today? Why not just write jokes and send them into late night comedy shows? I don't know. They probably don't get that much mail. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. All I'm saying is there's ancient history. Then we got records, written history. The political system functioned when it was like legends about people on the other side of the world. And people would get outraged on this side of the world. And like it would take so much outrage for like the army to like over months and years to make it over here. And there's this like battle over this like absurd, like outrageous, like legendary lies and embellishments. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And in modern times, we're not supposed to see these people we hear about. We're not supposed to see them physically. Like, this is the guy who blah, blah, such and such, did all these things. And that's why it's like, not only is our society breaking down, it's like the political system is broken down. We got this massive court system that's obsolete because of videos. It's like people are having these big trials and they're on video doing the thing. It's like, what's the trial about? The trial is to find out if he really did the thing or not. But when he has a absolute, like, there's no uncertainty. Like, there's zero uncertainty. It's just these ridiculous jobs. The military has been ridiculous for 3,000 years. Guys have a big family with their paycheck they get from the military in hopes that there's a new war. It's like absurdly ridiculous. And like, if they make a bad bet, it's like the military goes out of business, meaning the government goes out of business. I don't think so. I don't think that happens very often. And that's kind of scary to think about, since America was founded under false pretenses. No, I'm just talking trash, trying to gain power when I say that. I'm wearing a Columbia shirt. Like, America's name is from Amerigo Vespucci, like my last name, Petrino. It's a joke. It's a big joke. And I don't want to get into it. I'm not the droid you're looking for. That's Dave Vader you're looking for. Not Dave Petrino. I am El Nino. I gotta work on my voice. All other tropical storms must bow before El Nino. Never outshine your master, Hurricanian. I suppose that is enough. I've just gone off. It's like I got like 5 points I'm trying to make, and I could make them if I like written it down. Except for I only wrote these like 3 words down: overlap, parallel, and there was another word with an E, and it was escalation. So I'll go back to that. I mentioned that like 5 minutes ago. I'm 40 minutes in. So, this stuff's been going on since ancient Greece. People then, the technology they had, and I got to pull up my voicemails. I explained it so much more concise. The interactions that government officials and lawmakers have had for all these thousands of years and centuries. Um, People, whoever's writing, whether or not they're writing laws or not, they're having an effect on the writing of the laws. They might as well be a law writer and lawmaker, even though they've never even probably been to the political building. It's like there's these like unofficial de facto, I think that's Greek or Latin, government officials that are not even involved. It's just the world we live in. The political system functioned before communication technology got as good as it is. And it's like future politicians are going to have this attitude. I'm not going to be so conceited as to say that I have this attitude. I feel like I already am in a position. It's like I'm not the lame duck here. The lame duck is like what people used to say. I think what used to make me more upset than anything when I would hear people diss former Texan president. I'm not talking about Stephen F. Austin. I'm talking about we got LBJ and President George W. Bush. I mean, not technically. He's a lot more of a Texan than his father. They're both great men. It's just, that's... Oh, and Eisenhower. That's three. That's 3 or 4-ish. From 2 to 4. It doesn't matter. What did he say? He didn't say anything. People used to... The biggest talking point is say, he's just a lame duck, even though he's in there for 8 years. Lame duck means like, get into this political science. It's like the 2 months in between an election. Like, I'm born at the tail end of a Reagan baby. In January 88. There's like a 30-day window in between the election of 88 and the changing of the changing of the president every 4 years, right? From 87 to 88 when I was born. And I think I'm right about that. I think I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Maybe it was like a year. I don't know. I was at the tail end of that. And what? And so if my godfather, Reagan, passed away when I was 16, it's kind of like I haven't had a dad since I was 16. And my real dad is still alive, just had his 70th birthday. Even though his father passed away, when my dad was like 19. So we have my father and I are very similar in those regards, those aspects or whatever. I've never heard anyone verbalize this. This is my idea. The most proof that I had about this was when I looked up who was born in the year 1963-64 when we tragically lost President John F. Fitzgerald Kennedy, former president. I won't say what happened. Everybody knows what happened. And none other than former President Obama was born in 63 or 64. During JFK's term. I don't know exactly when. It was 63 or 64. It might have been 60 or 61. I don't know. The point is, he lost his father and his godfather, JFK, at a very young age. That I can't not relate to. When I was 16, I was like, I've already worked like hundreds and thousands of hours in my life trying to make money, getting paid to do work. I've just always been a hard worker. Not so much in my recent years. Growing up, I don't know. I try to work smarter, not harder, just for the fact that work and occupation, career, and jobs aren't I like working with my hands. It's just it's not like a running competition of the Olympics. That's not what work is. It's hard to put into words what work means, but like on the Sabbath day, like today, the idea is to enjoy the job. It's like do landscaping or something, and I enjoy it. That's what it means to not work on the Sabbath day. It's like even on other days that I'm working, I'm still gonna enjoy the job that I'm doing. One what? I've been able to put this into better terms before. I just looked at that and it said 40 minutes. Now it says 55. That was whatever I said in the last 15 minutes. I kind of blanked out. And so on the Sabbath day, what? In Hebrew, Shabbat. I had a good idea about it yesterday. Oh, my mantis passed away overnight on Shabbos Eve. Or Sabbath, Shabbat Eve. And very sad. And Saturday night, she passed away very peacefully. Dust to dust, ashes to ashes, as it says in the first chapter of the Bible. Very sad. And anyways, I'm just thinking, whatever I was talking about before that. What was I saying about Reagan? Something got me onto Reagan, and then I just went off. What people used to say, and this irked me more than anything. This is when I never liked politics. After the amount of disrespect that I took personally, what people said about our president from Texas, kind of like, is it the opposite of those chicks that play the banjo? The Dixie Chicks? The band? The women with attitude? When they... Wait, were they an admiration of? Or was it the opposite? I don't know. I don't remember. Okay, so here's what people used to say. They used to say, former President George W. Bush was a lame duck president, and who was really in charge of the state of the deepness, I don't even want to repeat what everyone else is saying, was the vice president, Cheney of Charles Cheney. Wait, or Richard Cheney. Yeah. Is that right? There's someone that I, at the school, that's why I mixed up those names. Anyways, that's funny. So, that's funny to me. Hearty chuckle, ha ha ha, and a smirk. What did they say? They said that. They said, the most powerful man in the world is not really the most powerful man in the world. The most powerful man in the world is a runner-up to the most powerful man in the world election. So you're telling me, no. People just ran with that idea. I never said that until now. I've heard it so many times, seen people write about it online. It's absurd. It's true in the case of Ice Cube. That was the climax. Before that, I don't know. There's a handful of like superstar celebrities that the legend became real with recorded media, pictures, not just drawings or like a statue or a bust or painting, written, recorded, audio, video, things such as that, transportation, vehicles, automobiles, all these things made people so much more accessible. Politicians have almost become obsolete, especially in the last 100 years, much more so since the origin of books. We're not all on the same page around the world. We all speak a different language for the most part. English is the most in-demand language. My first language, only language really. And what else? I don't know. The idea of a businessman is a recent thing to human culture, and it's going to start over. It's going to start over in 30 seconds. So a businessman, right? I'm just going to end it at an hour. A businessman, 20 seconds, is the value. If a businessman, it makes billions of dollars. Bill Gates, Bezos, Musk, they get paid billions of dollars, kind of like the CEO of like a nice restaurant, billions of dollars compared to the average minimum wage worker, is because that's how valuable